What is up, traders? In this video, I am going to be showing you what I consider to be the #1 way to increase accuracy and therefore profit potential out of your Forex trades. This is something that I have never seen taught online, whether that be in a course or here on YouTube, and this is something that I've personally never shared before either. So make sure you have a pad and a pen. Gonna be some pretty badass material after the intro and disclaimer. Speaking of intro and disclaimer, I'm gonna let them roll. While I do, make sure you click that subscribe button down below the video to the right hand side to be alerted when we come out with videos like this each and every week. Make sure you click the notification bell, the like button, and I'll see you directly after. So let's not waste any time in today's video. Let's jump straight into today's topic. You, I, anyone who trades in the financial markets wants to find a way to increase the accuracy of their trades. It's completely normal to desire that. There's nothing wrong with it. The problem is normally we get the wrong ways of doing so. What are some of the ways that you're told increase accuracy of a trade? You got to have the perfect entry, right? Maybe it's that the MACD needs to cross perfectly. The RSI needs to be overbought or oversold. The market needs to be under or over a certain moving average. It needs to be in trend or in consolidation at resistance or support. These are all ways we are told will increase the accuracy of our trades. And although they all are ways to increase the accuracy of our trades, there's one way that is not talked about at all that I want to discuss today. What is that? Well, as we just talked about, MACD crosses, RSI being overbought and oversold, moving averages, structure, those are all trend. They're all ways that we can increase the accuracy of our trades, but here is something that most people don't tell you. Not every currency pair is the same. They all have different personalities. If you have tested strategies on certain currency pairs, you'll realize something. There are certain pairs that work well for certain strategies that work well for one currency pair that may not work at all for another currency pair. Why is that? Well, it's because each pair has its own personality, and it's your job as the business owner, as the professional trader, to understand the personality of each one of those pairs and to make that a benefit to your trading. Let me tell you how. So, for example, I have listed on the board behind me 4 different currency pairs, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the personality of each of those pairs. This is going to be some extremely valuable information for you, and I urge you to take that information and put it into practical use moving forward. So this is the #1 way I believe to increase your accuracy on your Forex trades. Let's talk about it. Each pair has its own personality. And let's say that you test a strategy on the pound dollar, right? You test a strategy on the pound dollar, and you see that with this strategy on the pound dollar, you have a 70% winning percentage. What happens next? Well, if you've ever tested strategies before, you know that this is what happens next. You test that strategy on the pound dollar, it's 70% accurate. You move on to another pair, Canada Swiss, for instance. You move on to the Canada Swiss, and you go from the pound dollar being 70% accurate to the Canada Swiss being 20, 30, 50, maybe percent accurate. What happened? The strategy worked awesome on the pound dollar. Why is it not working for the Canada Swiss? Well, because certain pairs may react differently to certain conditions that you add to a strategy. For instance, maybe the pound dollar reacts really well to the candlestick pattern you're using for your entry on this strategy. Or maybe it reacts well to the moving average or the indicator of any kind you're using, or trends better or consolidates more. Those are all different personality types that each pair may have. So this is how you put that into practical use. Let's say you're on the pound dollar and you get a 70% accurate strategy on the pound dollar. What normally happens? Well, that 70% accurate strategy on the pound dollar is probably going to be 50% on the dollar yen. You may be looking at something around 50%, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more here on the euro dollar. Let's go 48%. And let's say the Aussie Canada performs at about 50% as well, 50%. So now, what do we have? What do we have now? We have an average winning percentage that's much below the starting winning percentage we had on the pound dollar. We have a much lower than 70%. This would probably be around 55 to 56% accurate altogether when looking at each of these currency pairs based on the strategy you tested on the pound dollar. But let's do something like this. So let's say So let's say you test this strategy on the pound dollar. And you see that on the pound dollar, the market, and this is one of those hints I was telling you guys, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the personalities of each of these pairs. Pound pairs, the pound dollar especially, tends to respect the 20 period moving average more than others. So on the pound dollar, let's say you find a strategy based on the 20 period EMA. So you have the 20 period EMA on your, or MA, either a moving average or exponential. You have the 20 period on your chart, and you're trading a strategy based around that and a certain entry reason. And you end up with a 70% accurate strategy. Now, what are the chances that this same exact strategy is going to perform 70% on the dollar yen, euro dollar, and Aussie Canada? It's actually pretty slim. It's very doubtful that if it performs best on the pound dollar, it's also going to perform really well on every other pair. That's a very doubtful scenario. So what do we do next? Well, the dollar yen is actually a great pair for trend continuation trades. This pair, most of the yen pairs, in fact, have a personality that trends more than it consolidates. So now, let's say you move on to the dollar yen and you go, okay, well, I know I have a strategy on the pound dollar. It gives me a 70% chance. The dollar yen, I know trends really well, and I have a breakout pattern I want to trade when the market's in trend on the dollar yen. And let's say you trade your breakout patterns on the dollar yen with a 70% accuracy. So now you have the dollar yen with a 70% accurate breakout pattern. You have the pound dollar with a 70% accurate pattern that happens under the 20 EMA. Maybe it's a candlestick pattern, a price action pattern. Maybe it's the bounce off the 20 EMA, whatever it is, right? So now you have these two that are both 70% accurate. You probably see where I'm going with this entire video. Let's move on. So continuing now, the euro dollar. The euro dollar has a personality that reacts really well to overbought and oversold conditions. If you don't believe me on this, on any of this, I don't expect you to believe me. Please do not trust me. Go out in the market, test it for yourself. So the euro dollar reacts really well in overbought and oversold situations. And with that being the case, let's say you decide to actually test or trade a breakout strategy, not a breakout strategy, excuse me, an overbought, oversold strategy on the euro dollar. So we have overbought, oversold strategy on the euro dollar, and this strategy, you guessed it, performs about 70%. So now we have three different pairs with three different strategies that perform at 70% each. Let's move on to the Aussie Canada. One of the ways that the Aussie Canada tends to show its personality in the markets is by consolidating. This is one of the most consolidating pairs actually in the Forex market is the Aussie Canada. Works really well for advanced patterns, but let's just say you pick any type of consolidation strategy. Let's just label that with a C. So you have a consolidation strategy on the Aussie Canada, and you guessed it again, you're winning at like 70% accuracy on that consolidation strategy. So do you see what we've done here? It takes a lot of effort. It's a lot of work to create 4 different strategies, to test 4 different strategies, to implement 4 different strategies each and every day on 4 different currency pairs. But this is one of the best ways to actually increase the accuracy of your Forex trades. Is to trade not just based on one strategy for every pair, but to trade a strategy based on a particular pair's actual personality and do that over and over. So now we have a pound dollar pair with a strategy based around the 20 EMA because we know the pound pairs react best to that moving average that performs at 70%. We have a dollar yen breakout pattern that performs at 70% because the dollar yen trends really well. We have an Aussie Canada consolidation pattern at 70% and a euro dollar overbought oversold pattern at 70% because that's what the euro dollar, that's the indicator the euro dollar reacts best to. So seeing all of this information, hopefully that's coming together for you. Hopefully now you understand a way that you can really increase the accuracy of your Forex trades. Again, trade based on these pairs' personalities. You can use a single strategy per pair. Again, a lot of work at the beginning, actually testing and creating 4 separate currency pair strategies based around their personalities, but it can be highly beneficial in your trading and increase accuracy better than any other way I've ever found, better than any other way that I know of. So there's been some insight into each of these 4 pairs: personality. There's been some insight into how to create more accuracy in your trades. If you're in the EAP training program, we're going to come out with an entire section over the next couple of weeks on this type of trading. So don't worry, if you're in the EAP training program, you're going to get a lot more advanced material than this coming into that program very shortly. If you're interested in getting involved in the EAP and learning the entire process of building a trading plan, learning more information just like this, then there is a link in the description for that program. We also have a link in the description for a couple of different free trainings that we offer as well. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like. Make sure to follow us on the socials. Instagram link is in the description. Make sure to leave a comment about what the most beneficial part of this video for you was. I hope you trade green. Have a great rest of your week and weekend, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.